Have you ever seen a family celebration turn into something so uncomfortable that every person in the room goes silent? Picture this. You are standing at your sister's wedding in front of 200 guests, judges, attorneys, powerful families, Boston's most polished crowd, all watching like they are seated at a private theater. Then your own mother walks onto the stage and hands you a stack of legal papers, expecting you to sign away your $2 million penthouse as a wedding present for your sister. You refuse. And in the next second, she loses control in front of everyone. Her hand meets my face with enough force that my earring flies off and slides across the marble floor. That was not a nightmare. That was my life. March 15th, 2024. They thought I would break down. They thought I would apologize. They thought I would give in because that was what I had always done. But this time, I did something different. I picked up my earring, walked out of the room, and made one phone call. 1 hour later, a woman entered the reception. The moment my mother saw her, the color drained from her face, because the person she had told everyone was confused, incapable, and no longer aware of reality, had just arrived with an attorney and documents that exposed everything my mother had been keeping buried. Before I continue, please like and subscribe, but only if this story truly speaks to you. Now, let me take you back 3 years, to the moment everything began. The call came on a Tuesday evening in March of 2021. I was in my small studio apartment in Somerville, eating leftover pad thai while reviewing blueprints for a client's kitchen renovation, when my grandmother's name appeared on my phone. "Paige, sweetheart," Eleanor Harrison said, her voice calm and firm, exactly as it had always been. "I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen carefully." My grandmother had spent 31 years as a professor at Harvard Law School before retiring. She never wasted words, so when she told me she was updating her will and leaving me the penthouse at 150 Seaport Boulevard, the same penthouse she had bought in 2015 for $1.8 million, now worth more than $2 million, I put down my chopsticks and listened. "Why me?" I asked, not because I did not want it, because I honestly did not understand. "Because you are the only one who visits," she said simply. "Every Sunday for 10 years, Paige, while your mother sends holiday cards and your sister sends nothing at all. You bring me tulips because you remember they are my favorite. You sit with me even when I have nothing interesting to say." My eyes started to burn. "Grandma, the paperwork will be finalized next month," she continued. "Marcus Webb is handling everything. He has been my attorney for 20 years. Then she paused. "Your mother will not be pleased." That turned out to be the biggest understatement of the decade. Within weeks, my family found out. I still do not know how. Maybe someone at Marcus's firm mentioned it to the wrong person. Maybe one quiet conversation traveled through Boston's legal circles faster than anyone expected. People like to pretend that world is enormous, but it is much smaller than it looks. All I know is that by April of 2021, my mother had organized what she called a family discussion at her $4 million home in Beacon Hill. I still remember walking into that living room. My father, Richard, sat in his leather armchair. My mother, Victoria, was positioned perfectly on the settee. My sister, Madison, perched on the arm of the couch as if someone was about to take her portrait. They had arranged themselves like a courtroom panel, and I was the one on trial. "Paige," my mother said, her voice sweet on the surface and sharp underneath. "We need to talk about your grandmother's condition." "Her condition?" I sat in the only empty chair, a stiff-backed seat facing all three of them. "She seems fine to me." "She is clearly not thinking clearly," Victoria said, crossing her legs as her Cartier bracelet caught the light. "Leaving a $2 million property to one grandchild while excluding everyone else is not the decision of a rational woman." "She is not excluding anyone," I replied. "She is giving me something she wants me to have. That is her right." Madison gave a small, dramatic sniffle. "This is so unfair," she said. "I have always loved Grandma. I just do not have time to visit her the way you do. I have a career. I have a life." "You have a trust fund and a fiancé with a yacht," I thought, but I did not say it. "The fair thing," my father said at last, using that careful, polished tone attorneys perfect over decades, "would be for you to decline the inheritance, or at the very least, agree to sell the property and divide the money equally among the family." I stared at him. Richard Harrison. The man who had not asked me a real question about my life in years. The man who missed my college graduation because of a scheduling conflict that turned out to be a golf tournament. That same Richard Harrison was now giving me a lecture about fairness. "I am not declining anything," I said, "and I am not selling anything. Grandma made this decision because she wanted to. If you have a problem with it, talk to her." The room seemed to grow colder. Victoria's smile disappeared. "Then I hope you are prepared," she said, "for what comes next." And what came next arrived quickly. By the summer of 2021, I had been quietly removed from the family group chat. I found out about Madison's engagement party through Instagram from a photo of her surrounded by our cousins, everyone holding champagne glasses at the Boston Harbor Hotel. The caption read, "Future Mrs. Caldwell," followed by 3 diamond emojis. No one had told me. No one had invited me. When I asked my mother about it, she said, "Oh, we assumed you would not want to come. You have been so busy with your little decorating business." My little decorating business was a licensed interior design studio with 12 active clients, and my revenue had doubled that year. But to Victoria Harrison, anything that was not a law degree or a wealthy husband was just a pastime. The worst part was not being left out. It was what came after. Victoria started telling stories to anyone who would listen. "Paige manipulated my mother," I once heard her say at a neighborhood gathering I had shown up to without being invited. "She visited constantly and turned her against the family." You know how easy it is for people to believe that older relatives can be influenced. That was exactly the picture my mother painted of me. In her version of the story, I was not a granddaughter who had shown up every Sunday for 10 years. I was not the person who brought tulips, sat through quiet afternoons, listened to the same memories more than once, and held my grandmother's hand when everyone else was too busy. No. In Victoria's version, I was calculating. I was selfish. I was the ungrateful daughter who had taken advantage of an elderly woman and turned a family inheritance into a personal victory. And through all of it, I never corrected her in public. Not once. I never raised my voice. I never confronted her at dinner parties. I never pulled anyone aside to defend myself. I told myself that staying calm was the dignified thing to do. I believed that if I kept my head down long enough, people would eventually see the truth. But I did not understand something very important yet. My silence was not protecting me. It was protecting her. What I also did not understand was why, in late 2021, Grandma Eleanor moved into Brookhaven Senior Living, a luxury residence in Wellesley that cost $12,000 a month. She told me she wanted peace. She told me she was tired of family tension and wanted quiet days, good books, and a view of the gardens. And most of the time, I believed her. But on some Sundays, when I visited, I noticed something I could not explain. A hesitation in her voice, a distant look in her eyes, a small flash of unease whenever my mother's name came up. One afternoon, I finally asked, "Grandma, did something happen between you and Mom?" She turned toward the window and stared at the perfectly trimmed gardens for a long time. Then she said very quietly, "Some things are better left alone." She paused. "At least for now." I let the subject drop. I wish I had not. 3 years would pass before I finally understood what she had been keeping to herself and why she had chosen to stay quiet. December 2023 arrived 3 months before the wedding that would change everything. I was in my studio on a Friday afternoon, looking over fabric samples for a Brooklyn townhouse project when the mail came in. Between invoices, catalogs, and client paperwork, there was one envelope that did not belong with the rest. Heavy cream cardstock. My name written in calligraphy so elaborate, I had to stare at it for a moment before I could even read it. Inside was an invitation. Madison's wedding, March 15th, 2024. The Fairmont Copley Plaza. Black tie. For a full minute, I just stood there with the invitation in my hand. After 2 years of being treated like I no longer existed, after no holidays, no birthdays, no casual messages, no family updates, they were suddenly inviting me to the wedding. That same evening, my phone rang. It was my mother. "Paige, darling," Victoria said, her voice soft and almost affectionate. I had not heard that tone from her since before the inheritance became public. "Did you receive Madison's invitation?" "I did." "Wonderful," she said. "You know, This wedding could be such a beautiful opportunity for our family to heal, to move forward. Then came the pause. To show everyone that the Harrisons are united. I said nothing, she continued. I have been thinking, and there it was, the real reason she had called. This would be the perfect time to revisit our conversation about the penthouse. Madison and Tyler will need a place after the honeymoon, somewhere appropriate for a young couple beginning their life together. I closed my eyes. Of course. The invitation had never been a peace offering. It was bait. Mom, the penthouse is mine, I said. Grandma left it to me. That has not changed. Nothing has to change, sweetheart, she replied smoothly. You could simply transfer the property as a wedding gift. Think of how generous that would look. Think of how proud your grandmother would be to see you supporting your sister. For a moment, I could not even speak. She was using my grandmother, the very woman who had intentionally chosen to leave that home to me, as a reason I should give it away. I am not transferring anything. The warmth in her voice disappeared instantly. Paige, she said, colder now. Madison deserves a proper start. She is marrying into the Caldwell family. Do you understand what that means? Tyler's father is a managing partner at Ropes and Gray. They will be entertaining, hosting, building a life in very important circles. They need a home that reflects their position. Then Tyler's father can buy them one. Silence filled the line. When Victoria finally spoke again, every word was sharp and controlled. I expect you to think very carefully before the wedding, and I expect you to make the right choice. Then she hung up. I sat alone in my studio as the winter sun dropped behind the buildings, stretching long shadows across my drafting table. Now I understood exactly what was happening. If I went to that wedding and refused her again, this time in front of the people she had spent decades trying to impress, she would turn the room against me. She would tell every guest that I was selfish, ungrateful, the daughter who embarrassed the family and spoiled her sister's perfect day. And it would not stop there. Those guests were not random people. They were judges, attorneys, wealthy clients, and old Boston names, people whose opinions moved quietly through the same circles where I found my clients. My reputation mattered. My business depended on referrals. One well-placed story from Victoria could follow me for years, but not going would be its own kind of defeat. It would make me look guilty. It would make it seem like I was hiding, like I was too ashamed to stand in the same room as my family. I considered skipping the wedding. I really did. But something inside me would not allow it. I had done nothing wrong. I had accepted a gift from someone who loved me, a gift she had chosen freely, with a clear mind and a trusted attorney by her side. I was not going to let my mother make me feel like the villain in a story she had rewritten for her own benefit, so I sent my RSVP. Yes. 1 week before the wedding, my phone rang at 7 a.m. Grandma Eleanor. Sweetheart, she said. There was something in her voice that made me sit up immediately. I had only heard that kind of urgency from my grandmother a few times in my entire life. I need you to listen carefully. I'm listening. If something happens at that wedding, and I believe something will, I want you to call Marcus Webb immediately. His number is 61755142. Write it down. I reached for a pen. Grandma, what are you talking about? What do you think is going to happen? Your mother believes I do not know what she is planning, Eleanor said. Her voice was calm, but there was something firm underneath it, something unshakable. She forgets that I was practicing law before she was even born. I have prepared everything, Paige. Marcus has all the documents. If you need them, they are ready. Documents? I asked. What documents? Just remember the number. Then she paused. And remember this. I love you. No matter what happens, I love you. She ended the call before I could ask anything else. I saved Marcus Webb's number in my phone, staring at the screen without fully understanding why my hands were trembling. I would not understand until I walked through the doors of the Fairmont Copley Plaza and saw exactly what had been waiting for me. March 15th, 2024, 5 o'clock. The Fairmont Copley Plaza stood over Copley Square like a monument to old money, polished manners, and generations of carefully protected family reputations. I had driven past that building hundreds of times, but walking through those golden doors as a guest, as a Harrison, felt completely different. It felt like stepping onto a stage where everyone already knew their role, except me. The ballroom was stunning. White orchids spilled from crystal chandeliers. A 12-piece jazz ensemble played Gershwin in the corner. Waiters in black ties moved smoothly through the room with champagne flutes and tiny appetizers arranged on silver trays. Every detail announced wealth, taste, and Victoria Harrison's unmistakable control. 127 guests. I had counted the chairs during cocktail hour. Attorneys, doctors, investment bankers, and old Boston families whose names were printed on hospital wings and university buildings. These were the people my mother had spent 30 years impressing. Her audience, her witnesses. I wore a navy blue dress, elegant but quiet. I had spent hours deciding what to wear because I knew there was no safe choice. If I wore something expensive, they would say I was showing off because of the penthouse. If I wore something simple, they would say I was embarrassing the family. So in the end, I chose something that felt like me. My father found me near the ice sculpture 10 minutes after I arrived. A swan, of course. "Paige," Richard said with a small nod. His eyes moved past me almost instantly, the way someone looks past a piece of furniture they are trying not to bump into. "Glad you could make it." "Dad." Then silence settled between us. After 32 years, my father and I had somehow run out of things to say to each other. A few minutes later, Madison appeared in a cloud of white tulle and Swarovski crystals, her veil trailing behind her like a promise of the life she had always believed she deserved. She hugged me without really touching me, the kind of embrace people give at charity luncheons and networking events. "Paige," she said, smiling perfectly, "you came." Her teeth were perfect. Her makeup was perfect. The performance was perfect. "Of course I came," I said. "You are my sister." She pulled back, and something in her expression changed. It was subtle, but I saw it. "Did you bring the paperwork?" I blinked. "What paperwork?" "Mom said you would have the transfer documents ready today." Her voice stayed light, almost playful, but her eyes were not playful at all. "For the penthouse. Our wedding gift." And there it was. They had already decided I would agree. The invitation, the phone call, the carefully staged family reunion, all of it had been leading to this moment. "Madison," I said slowly, "there are no transfer documents." Her smile stiffened. "What do you mean?" "I mean the penthouse is mine. It is not a wedding gift. It is not being transferred, and it is not up for discussion." Her perfect bridal expression flickered, but Mom said, "I do not know what Mom told you," I said, keeping my voice low, "but I am not signing anything. Not today. Not ever." Madison's jaw tightened. For one brief second, she looked exactly like our mother. The same controlled anger hiding just beneath a polished surface. "You know Tyler and I were planning to move in after the honeymoon," she said. "We already told the realtor we would not need the condo in Back Bay. We already told everyone. You told everyone about an apartment that does not belong to you. It should belong to us." Her voice rose just enough that I glanced around. "You do not even need it, Paige. You live in that tiny place in Somerville. You do not host dinners. You do not entertain important people. You do not have anyone to impress. What is the point of you having a $2 million penthouse?" The point? That question landed harder than she knew. What was the point of me having anything beautiful? Anything valuable? Anything that proved I mattered just as much as she did? My whole life, that same question had been asked in different ways. Why should Paige get attention? Why should Paige be chosen? Why should Paige have something Madison wants? I looked at my sister and answered quietly, "The point is that Grandma wanted me to have it, and her wishes matter more than your real estate plans." Madison stared at me. Then she leaned closer, her bridal perfume filling the space between us. "Mom is going to handle this," she whispered, "and when she does, remember that I warned you." Then she turned and swept back toward her bridesmaids, leaving me alone beside the slowly melting swan. I moved toward the bar, hoping a glass of water would steady my nerves, but before I could order, a woman in a cream Chanel suit stepped directly into my path. I recognized her, Patricia Holloway, one of Victoria's tennis friends, also the wife of a federal judge. "You're Paige, aren't you?" she asked. Her smile was polite, but there was nothing warm behind it. Victoria has mentioned you." "I'm sure she has," I said. Patricia tilted her head, studying me like I was a line item in a financial report. "I heard you've been holding on to some property for your grandmother," she continued. "That is very responsible of you. Will you be selling it soon?" And there it was, the story my mother had been spreading. In her version, I was not the rightful heir. I was not the person Grandma Eleanor had chosen. I was simply holding on to something, a temporary caretaker, someone expected to step aside once the family decided where the property really belonged. "Actually," I said, "I live there." Patricia's eyebrows lifted. "Oh, I thought—" She stopped herself. "Well, never mind what I thought." Then she excused herself and disappeared back into the crowd. I stood there alone, surrounded by silk gowns, polished smiles, and quiet judgment, finally understanding the size of the trap. Victoria had not prepared this moment overnight. She had been building it for years. Every conversation, every social gathering, every careful little comment whispered to the right person at the right time, all of it had been groundwork. And tonight, she planned to finish what she had started. I just did not know yet how far she was willing to go. I slipped out onto the balcony. The March air was sharp enough to sting, but after the heavy warmth of the ballroom, it felt like relief. I leaned against the stone railing and looked out over Copley Square, trying to slow my breathing. That was when my phone buzzed. Grandma Eleanor. I answered immediately. "Hello, my dear girl," she said. Her voice was calm, almost too calm. "Tell me what is happening." I looked through the glass doors at the glittering crowd inside. "How do you know something is happening?" "Because I know my daughter." There was a pause. "Victoria has been preparing something for weeks. She has been making phone calls, collecting support, shaping her version of events. She thinks I do not know because she believes I am tucked away in a senior residence with no connection to the outside world." The sharpness in Eleanor's voice was impossible to miss. She forgets that I still have friends, and unlike hers, mine actually care about me. I almost laughed. Almost. "What is she planning?" "I do not know every detail," Grandma said, "but I know it will happen tonight. She has her audience, and that is when Victoria feels most powerful. She needs witnesses. She needs approval. She needs the room to believe her before anyone questions her." Her voice softened. "Paige, do you remember the number I gave you?" "Marcus Webb's number. I saved it. If anything happens, anything at all, call him immediately. He is expecting you. Everything is ready." I pressed my back against the cold stone wall. "Grandma, what does that mean? What is everything? What are you not telling me?" For a moment, she said nothing. Then she finally spoke. "6 months ago, your friend Daniel came to see me." "Daniel Reeves?" "Daniel and I had been friends since freshman year at Boston University. Now he worked as an investigative reporter at the Boston Globe. A few months earlier, he had mentioned that he was looking into some unusual property transfers around the city, but I had not connected that to anything personal." "He came to visit you?" I asked. "Why?" "Because he found something strange," Eleanor said. "A property sale from 2020. A Cape Cod house that belonged to me." My grip tightened around the phone. "A house I never sold." For a second, the sounds from the ballroom seemed to fade away. "What do you mean you never sold it?" "I mean exactly that," she said. "Your mother sold it for $875,000. My name appeared on the paperwork, but I never signed those documents." The world seemed to tilt beneath my feet. I gripped the railing. "Grandma." "I did not want to believe it either," she said. "That is why I hired specialists. Forensic document services here in Boston. They reviewed the signatures." She paused. "Their report said there was a 98.7% likelihood that the signature was not mine." 98.7%. That was not a suspicion. That was almost certainty. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, my voice barely steady. "Why didn't you go to the authorities?" "Because she is my daughter." For the first time, Eleanor's voice cracked, only slightly. Then she pulled herself together. "Because I hoped there might be some explanation, some reason, something that made it less terrible than it looked. But we both knew. There was no explanation that could make it right." "That is why you moved to Brookhaven," I said slowly, as everything began falling into place. Not because you wanted peace and quiet, because you could not trust her anymore. I could not trust her, Paige, Eleanor said, and I could not act without tearing the family apart. So I stepped away. I protected what I could. The penthouse, my remaining accounts, my legal documents. And then you waited, I said. Yes. For what? For Victoria to make a mistake. Grandma's voice changed then. It became firm, clear, controlled. Tonight might be that mistake. If she goes too far, if she reveals her intentions in front of enough people, Marcus will have what he needs to respond. He has the forensic report. He has the original transaction records. He has people who can confirm where I was when I supposedly signed those papers. She took a breath. I was in the hospital recovering from a broken hip, Paige. I could not have signed anything. I closed my eyes. The truth settled over me like ice water. My mother had not only tried to pressure me, she had taken something from her own mother and hidden it behind paperwork. Then she had let everyone believe Grandma Eleanor was losing her judgment when she changed her will. Paige, Grandma said, pulling me back, I am not telling you this so you will hate your mother. I swallowed hard. I am telling you because you need to understand who you are dealing with, and because, if she corners you tonight, you need to know one thing. What? You are not alone. You have never been alone. Inside, the jazz band started playing again, something lively and bright, completely wrong for the moment. I stared at the ballroom doors. What do you want me to do? Whatever happens, Grandma said, do not sign anything. And if she pushes too far, call Marcus. Tell him the documents are needed, she said. He will know what to do. Then there was a pause. When Eleanor spoke again, I could hear the faint smile in her voice. And if Marcus calls me, I will be there within the hour. I have been waiting 3 years for this, darling. I am not going to miss it. Then she ended the call. I stood on that balcony for a long moment while the cold wind pulled at my hair. Then I lifted my chin, smoothed my dress, and walked back into the ballroom. I was ready. Or at least, I thought I was. I want to pause here for just a moment, because I know some of you watching have been in situations like this, surrounded by people who are supposed to love you, but somehow they are the ones who make you feel the smallest. If this story feels familiar, tell me in the comments. Should I have left right then? Or was I right to stay and face what was coming? Your answers mean more to me than you know. Now let me tell you what happened next. By 7:30, dinner had been served and cleared away. The speeches were over. My father gave a stiff, polished speech about legacy, loyalty, and family values. Tyler's father spoke warmly about the union of 2 respected Boston families. Madison's maid of honor told a story from their sorority years that made everyone laugh in that careful, polite way people laugh when they are expected to. I was seated at table 14 near the back of the ballroom, surrounded by distant cousins and family friends who seemed unsure why I had been invited at all. That was fine with me. I wanted to disappear into the background. But Victoria Harrison had other plans. The sound of metal tapping against crystal cut through the room. My mother stood at the head table with a champagne glass in one hand and a microphone in the other. Her smile was radiant. Her Valentino gown shimmered beneath the chandeliers. If I could have everyone's attention, she said, I would like to take a moment for something very special. A family tradition that Madison has asked me to help with. A warning moved through me. As many of you know, Victoria continued, the Harrison family believes in taking care of one another. We support each other. We make sacrifices for each other. Her eyes moved across the room, landing on me for half a second before drifting away. And tonight, in the spirit of that love, I would like to invite my eldest daughter, Paige, to join me up here. 127 pairs of eyes turned toward table 14. I did not move. For a second, I could not. Paige, sweetheart, my mother said, her voice full of gentle encouragement that I knew was meant for the room, not for me. Come on up, honey. Do not be shy. What choice did I have? If I stayed in my seat, I would instantly become the difficult one, the ungrateful one, the sister who created tension at Madison's wedding. So I stood. My legs felt strangely disconnected from the rest of me as I walked through the tables, past the whispers, the curious looks, the tilted heads. Then I stepped onto the raised platform where my mother waited with that perfect, dangerous smile. "There she is," Victoria said. She placed an arm around my shoulders. To everyone else it looked affectionate. To me, it felt like control. "Now, everyone," she said. "Paige has been caring for something very precious. My mother, her grandmother, left her a beautiful penthouse apartment in the Seaport District. $2.1 million in value. Quite an inheritance." A quiet wave of murmurs moved through the room. I saw Patricia Holloway nod, as if this confirmed everything she already believed. "Paige has been keeping it safe," Victoria continued, "waiting for the right moment to share it with the family, and what better moment than this? Madison's wedding day, the beginning of her new life with Tyler." Then she produced a folder. I had not even seen her holding it. She opened it and revealed a thick stack of legal papers, a property transfer, a quitclaim agreement, my name already typed beneath the signature lines. "All Paige needs to do is sign," Victoria said brightly, "and this incredible gift will help Madison and Tyler begin their marriage in a home that truly reflects the future ahead of them." The room applauded. They actually applauded, as if this were a beautiful family moment, as if I were about to make some generous gesture out of love, instead of being cornered in front of an audience and pressured to hand over what my grandmother had left to me. "Mom," I said. My voice was quiet, but it did not shake. "I am not signing this." Victoria's smile stayed in place. "Do not be nervous, sweetheart. It is just paperwork." "It is not just paperwork," I said. "It is the apartment Grandma Eleanor left to me, not to Madison, not to the family, to me." The applause faded. The silence that followed felt enormous. "Paige," Victoria said. Her hand tightened on my shoulder. Her voice lowered, but the microphone still caught every word. "Let's not make this difficult." "I am not making it difficult," I said. "I am saying no." Madison appeared at the edge of the platform, her face arranged into perfect hurt. "Paige," she said softly, "you are really going to do this on my wedding day?" "Madison, I did not ask to be called up here. I did not ask to be put on display. You were supposed to do one good thing for this family," she said, her voice sharpening. "Just one. You all planned this without even asking me." "Because we knew you would be selfish," Madison snapped. "We knew you would choose that apartment over your own sister." "That apartment did not seem meaningless when you were planning to move into it." A few people shifted uncomfortably in their chairs. Tyler's father cleared his throat. Near the kitchen doors, a waiter stood completely still, holding a tray in midair. This was not the elegant wedding moment anyone had expected. And then, for the first time that night, Victoria's perfect control began to slip. Her face flushed. Her voice rose. "You ungrateful child." The microphone carried every word across the ballroom. "After everything we have done for you, after raising you, educating you, supporting that little business of yours, you cannot do this one thing for your sister?" "You did not support my business," I said. "You have never even stepped inside my studio. And you did not raise me. Grandma did. Every summer while you were at conferences, charity events, galas, and anywhere else that was not home." A ripple of shocked whispers moved through the room. I knew I had gone too far, but I could not pull the words back. "The penthouse is mine because Grandma wanted me to have it," I continued, "because I showed up, because I cared, and no public pressure, no staged speech, and no room full of witnesses is going to change that." Victoria moved before I had time to react. Her hand landed across my face with enough force to turn my head to the side. My silver earring, the one Grandma Eleanor had given me for my 30th birthday, slipped from my ear and bounced across the marble floor with a tiny, clear sound. The entire ballroom went silent. For a moment, I did not move. My cheek burned, my eyes blurred. I could feel every person in that room watching me, waiting to see whether I would fall apart. But I did not. I breathed. Then I bent down, picked up the earring, and looked at it in my palm. It was slightly bent, but not broken. Carefully, almost calmly, I straightened it and placed it back on my ear. Then I looked at my mother. "That is the last time you ever put your hands on me." My voice did not shake. I was proud of that. Then I turned and walked off the platform. I passed the tables, the frozen guests, the whispers, the stares, and the jazz band that had stopped playing in the middle of a note. I crossed the ballroom, pushed through the double doors, and stepped into the lobby. I did not run. I did not cry. I found a quiet corner near the concierge desk, took out my phone, and dialed the number I had saved 1 week earlier. It rang once. Marcus Webb's office. "This is Paige Harrison," I said. My voice was calm, steady, certain. "Please tell my grandmother that the documents are needed." "Understood, Miss Harrison," the voice replied. "She will be there within the hour." I ended the call, sat down on a velvet bench, touched my aching cheek, and waited. 1 hour. That was all I needed. 1 hour until everything changed. At 8:45, I was still sitting on that velvet bench when the main doors of the Fairmont Copley Plaza opened, and my grandmother walked in. Eleanor Harrison was 78 years old. She used a cane now, and her steps were slower than the ones I remembered from childhood, but everything else about her was exactly the same. She carried the kind of presence that could quiet a lecture hall before she even spoke. The same presence that had made her one of the most respected professors at Harvard Law School for more than 3 decades. She wore a gray cashmere coat over a simple black dress. Her silver hair was pinned back neatly. Beside her walked Marcus Webb, mid-40s, wire-rimmed glasses, charcoal suit, and a leather briefcase in his hand that looked like it carried the weight of the entire evening. Grandma. I stood, and for the first time that night, my composure almost broke. "You came." She crossed the lobby and took my face gently in both hands, studying my cheek with eyes that missed nothing. "She put her hands on you." "Yes." Her jaw tightened. Then she kissed my forehead softly, the way she had when I was little and came home with scraped knees from falling off my bicycle. "Then let us finish this," she said. We walked back into the ballroom together. The wedding had turned into complete chaos. Guests stood in small groups, whispering with forgotten champagne glasses in their hands. Madison was crying for real now, while Tyler and his parents stood nearby looking deeply uncomfortable. Victoria was near the head table, speaking sharply to Richard, who seemed to be trying to calm her down. At first, no one noticed us. Then someone gasped. Then another person turned. And then Victoria saw her mother walking across the marble floor toward her. "Mom!" The word came out strained. Victoria's face went pale. "What are you? How are you?" "I am here for my granddaughter's wedding," Eleanor said. Her voice carried clearly through the suddenly quiet room. "I was not invited, of course, but I decided to come anyway. I hope Madison does not mind." Madison, with mascara streaking down her cheeks, could only stare. "What is this?" Victoria demanded. "What are you doing here?" "I am doing what I should have done 3 years ago," Eleanor said. "I am telling the truth." She stopped about 10 feet from her daughter, close enough for everyone in the room to hear. Then she turned to face the guests. 127 people, attorneys, judges, professionals, people who understood very well what was unfolding in front of them. "My name is Eleanor Harrison," she said. "I was a professor of law at Harvard for 31 years. I am fully capable of making my own decisions, and I am here to confirm that the penthouse at 150 Seaport Boulevard, the same property my daughter has been publicly pressuring my granddaughter to give away, was left to Paige Harrison in my will, dated June 14, 2019. She paused, letting the words settle over the room. "That will is legal, valid, and enforceable. There are no other valid claims to that property." Marcus Webb opened his briefcase and removed a document. "This is a certified copy of Mrs. Harrison's will," he said, notarized and filed with the Suffolk County Probate Court. "I have served as her attorney for 23 years, and I can confirm its authenticity." Victoria's face twisted. "This is ridiculous," she snapped. "Mother, you are confused. You do not understand what you are saying." "I understand perfectly," Eleanor replied, her voice cold and steady. "What you do not understand is that I have been watching you for 3 years. Then she gave Marcus a small nod. He took out another set of papers. "These are transaction records for a Cape Cod property," Eleanor continued, "a property that remained in my name until September 12, 2020, when it was sold for $875,000. The ballroom went so quiet I could hear the faint clink of ice shifting in abandoned champagne buckets. "I did not sell that property," Eleanor said. "I could not have sold it. That fall I was in Massachusetts General Hospital for 6 weeks, recovering from a broken hip. I signed nothing. I approved nothing." Victoria opened her mouth, then closed it again. No words came out. Marcus lifted a third document. "This is a forensic document analysis from Forensic Document Services, a certified firm specializing in handwriting review. They compared the signature on the Cape Cod sale documents with verified samples of Mrs. Harrison's handwriting." He turned slightly, addressing the entire room with the calm authority of a man used to courtrooms. Their conclusion was that the signature was inconsistent with Mrs. Harrison's authentic handwriting. The probability that it was not genuine was 98.7%. A wave of murmurs moved through the ballroom. I saw Tyler's father, the managing partner at Ropes and Gray, exchange a sharp look with another attorney near the bar. "You're lying," Victoria said, her voice breaking. "This is all made up. Mother, you are not thinking clearly. You do not know what you are saying." "I was clear enough to hire experts," Eleanor replied. "Clear enough to preserve the evidence, and clear enough to send the full file to the Suffolk County District Attorney's office last week." All the color left Victoria's face. You didn't." "Document falsification and financial misconduct are serious matters, Victoria," Eleanor said. Her tone was almost gentle now, the same measured voice she had once used to explain difficult legal principles to first-year students. "I did not want to believe my own daughter could do this. I gave you 3 years to come forward, to explain, to make it right." She paused. "But instead you spent those years damaging Paige's name. You called her manipulative. You called me confused. You tried to take her inheritance the same way you took my property." Victoria spun toward my father. "Richard, say something. Stop this." Richard Harrison, who had stood silently through the entire exchange, took one step back. "I didn't know," he said. His voice was flat, empty. "I didn't know about the Cape Cod house." "You signed the transfer," Victoria said sharply. "You were there." "I signed what you told me to sign," he answered. "I did not know the signature was not real." The room watched in stunned silence as 35 years of marriage began unraveling in front of everyone. Then Madison spoke. Her voice was small now, almost childlike. "Mom, what is Grandma talking about?" Victoria did not answer. She could not. She stood in the center of the perfect stage she had built, at the perfect wedding she had planned, in front of the perfect audience she had chosen, and everything was collapsing around her. Eleanor turned to me. Her eyes were tired and sad but certain. "Paige," she said softly, "I am sorry you had to learn the truth this way, and I am sorry I waited so long." "It's okay, Grandma." I took her hand. "I understand." She squeezed my fingers. Then she looked at Victoria one last time. "I lost you the day I discovered what you had done," Eleanor said. "Tonight, everyone else simply got to see the truth." She paused. "I hope one day you find the courage to take responsibility, but I will not build my life around that hope." Then she turned toward the exit. I walked beside her. Behind us, Victoria began raising her voice. Denials, accusations, demands that someone fix what could no longer be fixed. I heard Tyler's parents say something quiet, sharp and final to Madison. I heard the crowd's whispers rise into a storm of speculation, but I did not look back, not once. I want to pause here for a second. When I walked out of that ballroom with my grandmother, I was not thinking about revenge. I was not thinking about winning. I was thinking about how much time we had lost, and how grateful I was that we still had some time left. If you have ever had someone in your life who believed in you when no one else did, write their name in the comments. They deserve to be remembered. And if you want to hear how everything unfolded after that night, make sure you are subscribed. Now, back to the story. We had just reached the lobby when Tyler caught up with us. I heard him before I saw him, the quick, sharp sound of expensive dress shoes crossing the marble floor. I turned around expecting anger, maybe threats. But what I saw was something else. Calculation. Mrs. Harrison, Tyler Caldwell said, speaking directly to my grandmother without even glancing at me. I think we should discuss this privately. There may be some misunderstandings that can be cleared up. Eleanor looked at him with the same expression she must have used on law students who arrived completely unprepared. There are no misunderstandings, Mr. Caldwell. But surely the Cape Cod situation, he said, choosing his words carefully. Families have disagreements. Paperwork can get complicated. If we could all sit down with attorneys and review things properly, the paperwork was not complicated, Eleanor said. It was falsified. My daughter committed serious financial misconduct. That is not a family disagreement. That is a legal matter. Tyler shifted his weight. For the first time, I saw the polished mask slip. Beneath it was panic. The penthouse, he said. Madison mentioned that, given the wedding and the new family connection, you might be open to reconsidering your estate plans. Perhaps there is still a way to— Mr. Caldwell. Eleanor's voice cut through the lobby like a blade. There is no way. I am not reconsidering anything, Eleanor said. The penthouse belongs to Paige. It will continue to belong to Paige. And if you are asking whether I plan to leave my remaining assets to a granddaughter who just married a man willing to plead at a ballroom door, the answer is no. Tyler's face turned red. For 1 second, I thought he was about to say something he would regret. But then Eleanor smiled. Not a warm smile. It was the kind of smile that had probably made attorneys rethink their entire argument in court. You married the wrong Harrison, young man, she said, and after what I have seen from you tonight, Madison is welcome to you. Then she turned away from him as if the conversation was already finished. Marcus Webb stepped forward, calmly placing himself between Tyler and us. I would suggest you return to your wedding, Mr. Caldwell, Marcus said. Anything you say now may become relevant to the ongoing legal review. Tyler Caldwell, son of one of Boston's most powerful legal families, suddenly looked much younger than he had a moment before, and much less certain. He stepped back without another word. We walked out into the cold March night. The air smelled like rain waiting to fall, and the streetlights painted soft gold across the stones of Copley Square. Grandma, I said, my voice tight, I am so sorry. About the wedding, about the scene, about all of it. She patted my arm. Do not be sorry, she said. I have been waiting 3 years to say those things. Then she added, almost lightly, and honestly, it felt wonderful. Somehow, despite everything, I laughed. It came out shaky and rough, but it was real. What happens now? I asked. Marcus answered in his careful, professional voice. The district attorney's office will continue its review. Mrs. Harrison has already provided substantial documentation. What happens next will depend on their findings, but the evidence is strong. And Victoria? I asked. Eleanor's face softened. For a moment, I could not tell whether what I saw there was grief or relief. Maybe it was both. That is no longer mine to control, she said. I have done what I needed to do. Now it is in other hands. I thought about my mother still inside that ballroom, surrounded by the people she had spent her life trying to impress. I imagined her watching everything she had carefully built begin to collapse around her. Part of me felt a sharp satisfaction, but a bigger part of me just felt tired. I am not doing this for revenge, I said. I was not sure whether I was telling them that or reminding myself. I am not doing it to hurt her. No, Eleanor said. You are doing it because some things cannot be allowed to continue. Some stories cannot be left standing when they are built on falsehoods. She looked at me with those clear, knowing eyes. There is no cruelty in telling the truth, Paige. Only clarity. A town car pulled up to the curb. Marcus had arranged it while we were still inside. I should get your grandmother back to Brookhaven, he said. It has been a long evening. Eleanor waved one hand dismissively. I am not made of glass, Marcus. Then she paused. But yes, I am tired. She turned to me. Come see me tomorrow. We have a great deal to discuss. And I want to hear about your design business. Really hear about it, not the polite little summary you usually give me. I will be there, I said. She hugged me. A real hug, not the staged embrace Madison had given me, not the controlled gesture Victoria had performed on that platform. This was solid, warm, safe. I held on longer than I probably should have. "I love you, my sweet girl," she whispered. "I love you too, Grandma." Marcus helped her into the car. I watched as it pulled away from the curb and disappeared into the Boston night. For a while, I just stood there on the sidewalk. Then my phone buzzed, a text from Daniel Reeves. "Just saw the Globe's legal beat reporter post something very vague about a prominent Boston attorney. Was that?" I typed back, "I will explain later. Thank you for everything." Then another message came in. This one was from a number I did not recognize. "Paige, this is Jennifer Thompson from Becker Legal. We were at the wedding. I owe you an apology. I believed things I should have questioned. If you are ever open to discussing design work for our new office, please call me." I stared at the screen. Jennifer Thompson, one of the women I had seen whispering with Patricia Holloway earlier that evening, was now offering me business. I did not know whether I would call her, but I saved the number anyway. Then I put my phone away, pulled my coat tighter around me, and walked toward the parking garage. For the first time in 3 years, I felt like I could breathe. The fallout came quickly, but not loudly. 2 weeks after the wedding, Victoria Harrison was called in to answer questions at the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office about the Cape Cod property sale. The meeting lasted 4 hours. When she came out, Marcus later told me, she looked as if the evening at the Fairmont had aged her by a decade. Her attorney, a woman from her tennis circle who had first agreed to represent her, stepped away from the matter within days, citing a conflict of interest. I suspected the real reason was simpler. She had seen the documents. She had understood where this was going, and she wanted distance from it before the rest of Boston did the same. Or maybe enough mutual friends had already made it clear that standing too close to Victoria would come with consequences of its own. My father moved into a hotel on March 28th, the Ritz-Carlton, naturally, because even in the middle of a family collapse, Richard Harrison still cared about appearances. Through a family friend, he released a short statement saying he was taking time to process recent revelations and had no prior knowledge of any improper transactions. Whether anyone believed him was a different question. His signature was on the transfer documents right beside Victoria's. Saying he had no idea what he was signing might have worked if people still wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. But after more than 30 years of standing quietly next to his wife while she controlled every room they entered, Richard had very little goodwill left. Madison and Tyler postponed their honeymoon indefinitely. A cousin told me Tyler's parents had concerns about the financial mess now attached to the family, and they wanted their son's possible involvement clearly reviewed before the couple traveled outside the country. As for the dream of moving into my penthouse, that was over. Completely. The social consequences came more quietly, but they were just as powerful. On April 3rd, Victoria received an email from Partners for Justice, the charity organization whose annual gala she had co-chaired for 17 years. The subject line was cold and simple. "Your invitation status has been updated." The message itself was even colder. Due to circumstances requiring legal resolution, her role in the upcoming gala was being reviewed until further notice. In other words, she was no longer welcome. The Boston Bar Association opened an ethics review after 2 attorneys who had been at the wedding filed formal complaints. They were not claiming Victoria had done anything directly to them. They were raising concerns about conduct that did not reflect well on someone in the legal profession. That review was still ongoing. Then, on April 10th, a small item appeared in the Boston Globe's Legal Beat column, written by a reporter I recognized from Daniel's newsroom. It mentioned a Boston-area attorney under review in connection with alleged document issues tied to a 2020 real estate transaction. The Suffolk County District Attorney's Office confirmed that the matter was active but declined to share details. The attorney's name was not released, but the person was reportedly connected to a well-known Boston legal family. No names. But in Boston's legal circles, no names were necessary. Within hours, everyone knew. That week, I received 11 text messages from people I had not heard from in years. Some apologized, some offered support. A few were obviously looking for details they could repeat at dinner parties, so I ignored them. But the message that mattered most came from Jennifer Thompson at Becker Legal. She followed up her wedding night text with a formal email. The subject line read, "Sincere apologies and a professional inquiry. Paige, I want to begin by apologizing properly." At the wedding, I made assumptions based on things Victoria had told me over the years. After watching what truly happened that night, and seeing the way you handled yourself with such grace under impossible pressure, I felt ashamed that I had believed her so easily. I do not expect forgiveness, but I would like to offer something real. Our firm is renovating our conference floor, and we are looking for an interior designer who understands professionalism, discretion, and good taste. If you are interested, I would be glad to discuss the project with you. Please let me know either way. And again, I am sorry. Jennifer. I sat with that email for 3 days before answering. Part of me wanted to reject it immediately. I did not want anything that came from Victoria's social circle. I did not want to smile politely across a conference table from someone who had once believed the worst about me. But another part of me understood something important. Jennifer Thompson was not Victoria. She was someone who had been told a story, believed it, and then watched the truth unfold in front of her. Now she was trying to make it right in the only way she knew how. So I took the meeting. The project was serious. A full redesign of 2 conference rooms and a reception area for a mid-sized law firm. Budget, $82,000. Timeline, 3 months. It was the largest contract I had ever landed. By May, 2 more project inquiries came in from attorneys who had been at the wedding. Word was spreading. Not only about Victoria's fall from grace, but about my work. The same people who had once dismissed me as the Harrison daughter with a cute little decorating hobby were suddenly interested in the Harrison daughter who had stood her ground in front of an entire ballroom. I did not trust all of them. I screened every client carefully. I asked direct questions about how they had found me, and I turned down one project from someone who seemed far more interested in getting information about Victoria than in redesigning his office. But slowly, carefully, I started rebuilding. Not just my business, my confidence, my voice, my understanding of who I was when I was no longer trying to survive inside my family's version of me. The strangest update came in early May. I received a certified letter from a real estate attorney on Cape Cod informing me that the 2020 sale of Eleanor's property was now under legal review and that the current owners had been notified about possible title problems. Marcus explained what that meant. If the original sale was found to be invalid because of the document issues, the buyers could have a legal claim against Victoria for the purchase amount. The property itself could possibly return to Eleanor's estate. It is complicated, Marcus told me, and it could take years. But the process has started. Victoria Harrison, a woman who had spent her entire adult life collecting status, property, influence, and carefully polished friendships, was now watching all of it slip through her fingers. I will not pretend there was no satisfaction in that. There was. But more than anything, I felt peace. Because justice was not about getting even. It was about the world finally seeing what had been true all along. By June 2024, 3 months after the wedding, I was sitting on the balcony of my penthouse, watching the sun set over Boston Harbor. The sky was brushed with orange and pink, and the water reflected it like scattered pieces of glass. It was exactly the kind of evening my grandmother loved: wide skies, quiet air, a glass of wine, no place to rush to. And now, she was here with me. Eleanor comes every Sunday. I pick her up from Brookhaven in the morning, and we spend the day together. Sometimes we visit the Museum of Fine Arts. Sometimes we go to lunch, and sometimes we simply sit on the balcony, watching the harbor and talking about everything we were silent about for too long. That day, we were talking about my father. "He called me," I said. Eleanor lifted one eyebrow. "Yesterday," I added. "He said he wanted to explain, to tell me his side." "And what was his side?" I turned my wine glass slowly in my hand. "He says he did not know about the Cape Cod house. He says Victoria handled the paperwork, and he only signed where she told him to sign." "Do you believe him?" I thought about that. Really thought about it. "I believe he did not ask questions," I said finally. "I believe he chose not to know, and I think he has been choosing not to know for 35 years about many things." Eleanor nodded slowly. "And what did you tell him?" "I told him I needed time. I told him I was not ready to see him yet, and if he wants a relationship with me, he has to earn it." I paused. Not by explaining, not by saying the right words once, but by showing up consistently over time. She reached across the small table and squeezed my hand. That is a healthy boundary, sweetheart. We sat quietly for a while. The sunset deepened. The city lights began to flicker on. Then I said, Madison texted me. I heard, Eleanor said. Last week. She asked if I would call her. She said she wants to talk. And will you? I looked out over the harbor, watching boats drift back toward their moorings. Not yet, I said. Maybe not for a long time. Then I let out a breath. She knew, Grandma. Maybe not about the Cape Cod property, but she knew about the pressure. She knew about the way Mom spoke about me. She was there every time I was called selfish, ungrateful, difficult, and she never defended me. Not once. Eleanor listened without interrupting. She never questioned the story, I continued, because the story benefited her. That is true, she said softly. If Madison wants to have a sister, then she has to want the truth, not just the version that makes her comfortable. She has to be willing to see our mother clearly. And I do not think she is there yet. I paused. I am not closing the door forever, but I am not opening it just because she knocked. Eleanor smiled then. A small, proud smile. You have learned something important, Paige. Something I wish I had learned when I was your age. What is that? That love without respect is not really love, she said. It is just a pattern people are afraid to break. She looked at me with those sharp, gentle eyes. You deserve both. I started seeing a therapist in April. Her name is Dr. Carolyn Mitchell, and she specializes in family systems and boundaries. Every Tuesday at 4, I sit in her office in Cambridge and talk about things I spent 32 years pretending did not hurt me. It is not easy. Some weeks I leave feeling completely drained, but it is also one of the most important things I have ever done for myself. And there is something else. His name is Ben. He is an architect I met at a design conference in May. He has kind eyes, a terrible sense of direction, and absolutely no idea who the Harrisons of Beacon Hill are. He likes me because of who I am, because of my work, my laugh, the way I talk to plants when I think no one is listening. It is new. It is slow. And for the first time, I am letting someone know me without worrying about what my family name means to them. My grandmother finished her wine and placed the glass on the table. You know, she said, I have been thinking about what I want my legacy to be. You have already given me a legacy, I said, looking around the penthouse. Not the property, she replied, shaking her head. I mean the other thing, the part that actually matters. I waited. I spent too many years keeping the peace, she said, staying quiet because speaking up felt too painful, letting Victoria become who she became because facing the truth was harder than avoiding it. Then she looked directly at me. I do not want that for you. I want you to speak the truth, even when it is difficult, she said. I want you to protect yourself, even when other people try to make you feel guilty for it. And I want you to remember that being kind does not mean staying quiet. My eyes filled with tears. I will remember. Good. She patted my hand, then leaned back in her chair. Now, what are we having for dinner? All this emotion has made me hungry. I laughed, and for the first time in a long time, the sound felt easy. This is my life now. A penthouse that truly belongs to me. A grandmother who loves me without conditions. A business that is growing because of my own work. Boundaries that no longer bend just because someone else is uncomfortable. And a future I am building for myself, one honest choice at a time. If you are watching this and something in this story feels familiar, maybe you know what it is like to be expected to shrink so other people can feel comfortable. Maybe you have been told that saying no makes you difficult. Maybe someone made you believe that protecting your peace was selfish. It is not. You are allowed to want better. You are allowed to have boundaries. You are allowed to walk away from situations that make you feel small, even if the people creating those situations share your last name. Being kind to yourself does not mean you have stopped caring about others. It means you have finally included yourself in that care. Thank you for staying with me until the end. If this story reminded you that you deserve respect, that your voice matters, and that your boundaries are not something to apologize for, leave a comment below. Tell me your story. I would truly like to hear it. And if this helped you feel a little less alone, please like this video and subscribe for more stories about family, boundaries, self-respect, and finding the courage to choose yourself. You can also check the description for more videos like this one. Until next time, remember this: protecting your peace is not selfish. It is necessary. Take care of yourself. I will see you soon.